Aloha! Welcome to the Walking in Aloha, Let's Talk Story podcast. We're so glad to have you here. Ekomo mai. Now here's our podcast host and award-winning author, Michelle.
Aloha, everyone, and welcome to another powerful podcast. The Walking in Aloha, Let's Talk Story podcast is a podcast where we share transformational stories of faith, resilience, healing, creativity, leadership, and legacy. I'm your host, Michelle Ebalaroza Kawano, speaker, author, certified facilitator, and human rights consultant. And today we have a wonderful guest joining us. Today's guest is Gigi Santos, a speaker, mentor, organizational leader, and certified life and success coach who helps people stop overthinking, overcome fear, trust themselves, and make confident decisions rooted in clarity instead of doubt. I love that. After achieving many of the goals she thought would bring fulfillment from academic success and leadership roles to professional accomplishment, Gigi realized that fear, self-doubt, and the fear of judgment, loss, and failure were quietly influencing many of her decisions. And I think that's the same with a lot of us. Realization led her on a journey of professional growth, personal growth, faith, and alignment that transformed the way she lives, leads, and serves today. Now, through her speaking, coaching, and mentorship, Gigi helps individuals and teams recognize the difference between fear and intuition so that they can stop waiting, start acting, and move forward with greater confidence. Her message is simple, powerful, and yet very, very timely. You already know what to do. Now act like it. I love those words. You already know what to do. Now act like it. If you've ever felt stuck in overthinking, afraid to make the wrong decision, or unsure whether fear or wisdom is guiding you, this conversation is for you. So now let's welcome Gigi Santos to the show. Aloha, Gigi. How are you?
Aloha. Thank you so much for that great introduction, Michelle. That was amazing and so powerful. It makes me that much more excited to serve your audience and serve you. And this is just all in alignment of where we are. So thank you so much for having me on the show. And I'm excited to have a really powerful conversation today.
Nice. Thank you so much. You know, your message is so powerful. Fear is lying to you, right? Fear is lying to you. You already know what to do. I can imagine, I mean, even for myself, how many times you get stuck listening to that, right? What first led you to that realization in your own life? And how did it become the foundation of the work that you do today?
That is such a great question, Michelle. I just think us as human beings are put on this earth for one reason and one reason only, and that's to find our purpose, to serve our purpose. And sometimes even the smallest things, even though we are all human beings and we're very unique beings in the mind and the character and the experience, I feel like we all share one experience. And sometimes it's stopped by the same exact thing that's universal to all of us. And that's fear. Think about it. How many times, maybe when you were smaller, maybe now as an adult, you want to go ahead and ask somebody a question. You want to approach a conversation, but then there's something that's stopping you. And we don't like to call it fear. Maybe we're not even going to call it that. But there's a voice in your head that's constantly telling you, don't do that. Maybe you're not ready. Who knows what they're going to say on the other side. It's just the unknown. Although from where we are at that moment to the other side of getting over that unknown, that fear, that speech that's going into our mind might be the best thing possible. You know, the worst thing that you could get as a reply is a no. So I always like to say that after the first time that you do something, right after that, you have the confidence to do it again. whether you fell back a little bit shorter than where you wanted to, or you actually succeeded and over exceeded your own expectations. But it's just having those experiences where you hear that self-talk and part of you knows exactly what you need to do. But once you let that voice get out of your head, once you overpower that voice, it becomes that much more of a stronger voice to lead with. And so that's something that I have applied in my own life. I'll hear that voice. I'll thank it for being there. Thank you, fear. Thank you, doubt. Whatever it is that you are not going to stop me from getting to the end goal and getting the result that I'm going to get today. And so that's pretty much what has led me to conquer that self-doubt, that fear, in order to accomplish even the smallest goals. Going to ask the question, going to do the thing, going to have the conversation or submit the project.
Right. I think that is just so amazing what you're saying, because I was just on a call, and one of the things that she was telling me was that she's afraid of like people judging her, right? Yeah, the judgment, the things, right? And it's like, if you continue to let that thought, it didn't even happen yet, right? But because those doubts and those fears are in you, you start making up your own conversations. Yeah. And it's like, I was telling her, if you just go ahead and do what you want to do, say what you want to say, only then will you realize and know if that's really going to happen or not. All of those things, all of those things are just you kind of making it up in your own mind. Maybe it was something in the past. Maybe it was something that, happened before, but it does not mean that it's going to continue to happen every single time. So yes, moving past that and not allowing that to happen. So good, so good. The only thing that ties all of my guests together is the Aloha Always framework. And that is how I structure out the podcast. And so the Aloha Always framework is affirmations and actions, leadership and love, overcoming obstacles, health and healing, and acute awareness. And I have now shared that with so many people around the world. I live here in Hawaii, and I'm like amazed how God can orchestrate that. And I can reach people now. And I've spoken to people like in Saudi Arabia and Africa, New Zealand, Australia, Spain, I can name so many, but I just am so amazed to see how people walk in aloha all over the world. So I want to hop into the questions with you and see how you have actually walked through aloha in your very own way. Let's start with the first A, and that
Do it.
is, let's do it, affirmations and actions. You help people move from fear and overthinking into clear, confident action. What affirmations or mindset shifts helped you personally begin trusting yourself more? Because I always say, you can't pour from an empty cup. You have to start with you. So, what are the
So
affirmations you use?
that is such a great question. I'll start with this. There's only one person and one person only that is in your mind, in your head, 24/7. And you listen to this person all of the time. Now, whether this person is actively encouraging you to do the things that you truly know in your heart, in your mind, in your soul, what is it? What does that sound like? What does that look like? I love to say how important and emphasize how important our self-talk is. Number one, doesn't matter anybody else that's around you, that one person that's with you all of the time in your mind, in your head, that's talking all of the time, it's you. And that's the only person that can control anything else that happens on the outside. So you could get the advice from someone that you really love and really respect. You can get the advice and the guidance from an expert, but the only person that is the most important person to listen to is the person that's up here. And a lot of us, maybe you have done this yourself. I have done this for sure, where we're guilty of sounding like a person that we wouldn't sound like out loud to somebody else. Maybe it's a part of that negative self-talk. Think about the situation where you are going up to somebody that you admire, that you love, that you don't necessarily know. You've never met them in your life. Although there's all of these thoughts going into your head. Who am I to go and speak to this person? What if they laugh at me? What if? These are all, just like you said it earlier, hypothetical situations that we are making this story before it even happens. Although this is when the importance of self-talk comes in. You want to be your own biggest cheerleader, because if we're looking for that ability, for that empowerment outside of our own body, we will always be looking for that. Although the most important person that we need to listen to is already in our mind, already in our head, already in us. So some of the exercises that I like to do when it comes to improving that self-talk is, when they say, look at the person in the mirror, a lot of the times we think of it as, well, self-reflect, right? Look at yourself or hear yourself in your mind. But there are so many things going on in our minds, Michelle, that it's really hard to organize this. You're in the car, you're stopping at a red light, you're thinking about putting the pedal to the floor, you just saw that you got a text on the phone, you're listening to your favorite song, you saw a bird just pass by, and then you're also thinking about what you're having for lunch that day. So much. But here's the thing. We have to be able to give time to ourselves. So when I say taking a look in the mirror, how about we actually take a look in the mirror? Like, when was the last time that you looked in the mirror, not to look at yourself, whether or not your hair looked good, if you had something in your teeth, but when was the last time that you looked in the mirror into the eyes of the other person? There is something, let me tell you, there is something about looking into your own eyes. It's almost as if it is another person, but that other person is the most wisest, most intelligent, most powerful parts of you. So it might sound weird, but I highly encourage you to give it a try. Talk to yourself in the mirror. What would you say to yourself? What do you sound like? Do you sound like a drill sergeant? Do you sound like a previous coach or a previous teacher? Or do you sound softer, like the person that loves and nurtures you from within? So when it comes to affirmations in the Aloha framework, I like to flip it into, so that we could recognize, who is it want to sound like? Who is it that we want to be? And are we actively doing that in our own minds on the outside world? So,
That is so good. That is so good to look at yourself and, like, not just, like you said, not to just look at yourself to see if everything is okay. Oh, is my hair right or whatever, but actually looking into your own eyes. I don't think that a lot of people take the time to do that. And, when you do that, you have to ask yourself, like, in the Bible, it talks about loving yourself as Christ, right? And so it's like, how are you loving yourself? How are you talking to yourself? You know, would you, like you said, would you be talking to someone else that same way? Yet we do it to ourselves all the time, And I always say we're our worst critics, but to do that and to constantly have that, it's really wearing on a person, because I know I've done it. I've done it. And coming from the domestic violence, coming from a place where you constantly hear that, and then now you're feeling like, you know what, you're right. And you look at yourself and you're not even looking into the eyes, but you're looking at this person like, how can you be this person? Right?
so
And it's
good.
like,
I actually, if I could challenge what you had just said, so important. I love that saying that you are your own worst critic, or sometimes a lot of people like to say you are your own worst enemy, but I'll challenge you at the other side. But you are your own best cheerleader.
that's what I like when you said that. your best cheerleader, because it's hard. You don't want to wait until someone else outside of you is cheering you on. You don't want to wait for those okays to do something, because sometimes you won't get it. And if you don't get it, are you just going to sit there stuck? You're going to have to be your own best cheerleader to say, you got this, girl, go for it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so good, so good. So many people wait until they feel fully confident before they move forward. They have to have everything in line, everything all right. What would you say to someone who is waiting for fear to disappear before taking any kind of action?
Really simple. That's such a great question,
Yeah.
Michelle. Fear is a human thing. And if you're waiting for that to disappear, I'm going to tell you in the nicest, most loving way, my friend. Let's wake up. Let's wake up, because there are a lot of scary things in this world that we are going to face that is unexpected, that we're not going to be prepared for. Let me give you a reminder. You were probably there. You probably remembered what happened 2020. It was a scary world for all of us. Who would have known that something that was supposed to shut down for 2 weeks ended up being 2 years and then some after effects? We live in a world where everything is so unexpected. I live in Miami, Florida, and I like to say that the person that is most incorrect is the weatherman, because they could say that it's going to be shining bright the whole day, sunny, 89 degrees, and then you're ready to go to the beach and all of a sudden it starts pouring down. You could make the most out of each and every experience and embrace everything that's being brought to you, or we could continue to live in the fear of what may have happened, or the experience that we've had before, or something that we have in our head that hasn't even came true. So most of the time we're instilling all of this fear onto ourselves, where if you just live in this present moment, and that's why it's called a gift, right now in this present moment, whether or not the worst case scenario or the best case scenario comes to life, you'll still have to deal with it. Now, the beauty is, will you allow that one moment to stop you, or maybe even your mind space to stop you from moving forward? It's up to you, completely up to you. I'll give you an example. Let me tell you a story. So I come from an athletic background and I played softball. On the softball field, you have to go and bat. You need to hit. So when you're at home plate, it's just you in your mindset and what you need to do. You have one job only, and that's to get on base. Whether it's being smart with what's given to you or you hit the ball. Now, at that same moment, there are so many factors that determine how it is that you execute this. There is your coach is screaming at you, whatever it is that they're screaming at you. Then there's your teammates, and they're either cheering for you or just saying something individually. Then you have the parents in the background and all the fans, and somebody is telling you, hey, remember this, while another person is telling you, like, you got this. But here's the thing, none of that matters. None of that is going to help me do what I need to physically do to hit this ball. And so that's one of the challenges that I had growing up, where I was in a batter's box. The pitch is coming, and I could go ahead and hear everything that's going on the outside, or I could lock in and start talking to myself, right? I could be my biggest critic and say, well, this pitcher is really good. I don't know what she's coming with. She might throw really, really fast. And then the first pitch comes, boom, right down the middle. And I didn't do anything. And I'm scared and I'm shaky. But then again, that's where I started noticing, oh, wait a second. I have the ability. To face this. Okay. Well, here's a flip of the switch. Well, pitcher, you could throw absolutely anything that you want to me. I'm going to absolutely crush this ball. I don't care where you put it. It's going to go to the other side. And hopefully it doesn't go straight to your face, because I'm sorry. It's the sense of confidence. Now, who knows? After that, it might be another strike. But here's the thing, you are in control of your own mindset. How is it that you want to show up? Because you could let the fear of striking out completely overcome you. And that's exactly what's going to happen. The same thing that you put in the forefront of your mind is exactly what might actually happen. It's scientifically proven that if you are constantly thinking about this thing, then it has a higher chance of it actually happening live. And so at the end, sure, if I strike out, then that's what it is. You know what? That's not the only time that I'm going up to bat. And that might not be the last game that I'm playing. Although I do have in control the mindset in which I'm showing up. And so to the person that is getting ready for fear to just disappear, it is your job and it is your responsibility to grab fear by the neck and say, you don't have control over me, because this is what's going to help me. This is what's going to serve me right now at this moment, so I could get the future, the results that I am so hoping for, so wanting for, and that I know is in my possession already.
So good. So good. Like you said, just take fear by the neck and be like, yeah, no, this is what's going to happen. This is how I'm going to handle it. Thank you for coming along for the ride, but this is the way it's going to go.
You're just here. You're just a visitor. Thank you for coming in. You may escort yourself out.
Yes, exactly. That is so, so good. I've had too many times where I'm coaching and they keep repeating the same thing. And I have to tell them, okay, wait a moment. Do you really want to change this? Because you're constantly saying the same thing. And whatever you're saying is what is going to be happening. So if you constantly say that I'm always so alone, no one ever cares about me, da da da, are you really? Are you really alone? Right? No. Like I speak with a lot of Christians. I'm like, you know that God is right there with you. So if you constantly say that you're by yourself and you're alone, are you really? So you need to change your language. You need to change the things that you're saying, because that's what's in your mind. But if you want to live it, you're going to keep repeating it. And it's until we choose to change, things change, right? It's what we choose. So, so good. Love it. The L in Aloha is leadership and love. And I had to come through this part really hard, coming through the domestic violence, because I had to realize that I wasn't loving myself enough to lead myself out of that situation. Could I lead myself out at any time? Sure. But did I love myself enough to say, sorry, guys, I know that you live with me, but this is a dangerous situation I'm in that you have no clue about. I need to go. Right? And I was protecting everyone else in the home. Here in Hawaii, it's really expensive, so people live together, and that's just the way it goes a lot of times. So I protected people's roof over their head, knowing that I was going through all of this. And I'm like, no, that's not love, right? And the one thing that I realized afterwards was when I told my niece, I'm sorry, but I'm not coming back. This is what's happening. She was like, oh my gosh, Auntie, you didn't tell me. I didn't know. If you told me, I would have found a place sooner. And so you think about it and you're like, you make up all this stuff that you think is supposed to be true, but is it truly true? Or is it just your truth? Right?
You
It's
start
like,
thinking stuff and then you actually believe it.
yeah, but it's like I realized after telling her that was never true. That was never true. It was what I was believing to be true. That since they were living with me, that I had the responsibility of keeping that over, keeping the roof over their head, keeping everything secure for them. But no, it was like a eye opener. So I always use that when I speak to other people about the leadership and love, because you need to love yourself in order to lead anyone else. You can't lead when you are not being led. You're stuck. Then if you're stuck, how are you gonna? It's like blind leading the blind. You can't do that. You
I
can't do that.
Absolutely. He's like, where are we going? We don't know. Okay, well, I'll just follow.
Exactly. But your background, it includes leadership, operations, coaching, and mentorship. How has your leadership journey shaped the way that you help others build confidence?
That is such a great question. I'll start with this. No matter where you are in life, you will have others watching you. We like to say that we have to lead by example, but sometimes you don't have to necessarily lead. Nobody's asking you to lead. But if you are already living in a place where you can serve as an example to anybody, there's always going to be people watching. And so from my athletic background, going into my professional background, I always have in mind the input that actually one of my previous managers had given me. And he had said, don't focus on who you are right now. Focus on who you want to be. And when you are actively pursuing a mindset, a goal, you start living it in every single aspect. And when you start feeling an alignment of that, you don't realize it, but there are other people watching you in the background and they're learning from you, and they'll have some takeaways from that. So I'll give you an example. When I first started posting on social media, I had my own thoughts in the background. Well, what if this, what if that? Fear of judgment is so real. But here's the thing. Everybody's going to have something to say. The person that you admire, the celebrity crush that you have, although you love them and you admire them for your own certain reasons, there's always going to be somebody that has something negative to say. Doesn't matter how powerful and how amazing it is that they are, everybody is going to have their own opinions. So when it comes to even that fear of judgment, it's almost something that doesn't exist, because judgment is going to be forever there. But what are you afraid of if you know that it's there? It's just a matter of, we don't want that negative feedback. Although when it happens, how are you going to react to it? And so I started posting on social media. And one of the things that we see people post is the wins, the positive things. I'm going on this trip. I won this award. I just got promoted for this, but nobody is posting their losses. Nobody's posting their setbacks. Nobody's posting their failures. But that is the beauty of the process, that when you are accepting of where it is that you are and where it is that you want to be, it doesn't matter whether you won or whether you lost. The thing is being your true and authentic and genuine self. And so while I started posting on social media, some things got likes, some things got views, whatever it is. But here's one thing. I started getting feedback. And I received a message from one of my previous teammates, which I love and adore and admire. And she sends me this message, and I have chills in my body even saying this. She says, "Hey, thank you so much for posting this. You are an inspiration to me right now, so that I could put myself out there more." Mind blown. Fast forward, as much as there might be negative comments, things that are even behind no comments at all, even words that are being spoken, who cares? Because if you are making an impact into somebody's life, if you're being your true and authentic self, you're never going to know what the other person that is watching you is thinking, although they're feeding you. You will never forget. You will probably forget what people say, but you will never forget how people made you feel. And so even then, right now, even on TikTok, I don't have as many followers, but I'm every day posting these just talking heads. One of my friends said, "Gigi, get your phone and put it up in front of you, press the record button, and just to it." Because on the other side of you talking to it is one person. If you could change just a mindset or just a perspective of one person, then you did your job already. And so after doing that a couple of times, then I receive another comment on there. Unexpected. I'm not doing it for anything specifically, but if what I was doing on that video was just being my authentic self and just speaking to the person that I wanted to speak to the most, and then fast forward, I don't know who this person is. Hopefully they're listening. Although on the other side of posting it, then there was a comment. Thank you for posting this. I really needed to hear this today.
Yeah.
So could you imagine the amount of people that are feeling that same thing, that want to say those same things to you, but they're probably not going to say it to you. They're probably not going to write you anything. But what matters is the effects that happens after you are being your genuine and authentic self. So if you want to lead, if you want to lead your life in a way that is bold, that as an example, then don't just think about leading. Don't just think about getting inside of the driver's seat. Think about living it and feeling comfortable within that genuine and that authentic time and experience.
That is so good. I always tell people and I remind them that when you are posting, when you are sharing on social media and you don't see the likes or you don't see, I said, if you ever look at the little corner where it says how many people actually viewed it, think about that. You look at how many people actually viewed your post, even though they're not replying. Yes, yeah. Even though they're not replying, even though they're not saying anything, you just have to trust God that He is bringing the people that need to hear it and that it is being shared out into the world. Same thing like you. I just continue to post. I don't really, it doesn't bother me that if there's a lot of comments or not, but it's when those comments that come in and say you're such an inspiration, that they've been watching how your life, how life has been. And throughout even I have a brain aneurysm, and throughout my medical issues and everything, they see, and this is something that I thank God for, that they tell me they see me living out my faith. And I'm like, then that is enough. That is enough for me to continue and do it again and again and again. And I say, as long as I have breath, I will continue to serve. And that is one of my platforms that I serve from. So yeah,
Man,
don't worry about the likes and don't worry about those things, because there are people who are actually receiving, and just because they're not saying anything at the time, they're there. And so
really.
never feel that you can't continue because of that. So good to mention social media does stop a lot of people. They're like, I only got like 3 likes. I'm not doing it ever again. It's like, no, just continue. It'll come. Yeah, it'll come.
Absolutely.
So good. So good. So how can leaders create environments where people feel safe enough to grow, speak up, and make decisions?
So good. I'd like to say that you could do the same exact thing a million different ways, but it's about what's most efficient and most effective for you. You know, we live in a world where people are just different. We've had different experiences. We've had different upbringings, and you can't please everybody. Although one of my old teammates, she had given me this piece of advice and I had to stop her. I'm like, wait a second, what did you just say? And I made her write it down, and I still have that sticky note till this day. And I'm reminded of that all of the time, that before you point the finger at someone else, remember that there's 3 pointing back at you. So if you are a leader that's wanting to instill a culture of inclusivity in happiness and joy and fulfillment and excitement within your group, then you need to be able to resemble that yourself. What is it that you are actively doing in order to, again, you could lead by example, but if you're not living it, to your true authentic self, then everybody around you is going to feel that. It is contagious. Energy is contagious. Us leaders have a responsibility to spread whatever infection, whatever disease, right? That we are okay with spreading within our teams. So if you're coming in dragging your feet, sad, down, and you don't say anything but a word to your team's going to feel that. They're going to feed off of that. Doesn't matter how independent one person may be, doesn't matter how excited and how positive they want to be. Whatever is in that environment will continue to be. Maybe you've seen this example before where you get a rotten apple and you get a very nice, brand new, fresh, crisp apple. When you put those two in an environment together, that crisp, fresh apple starts slowly decaying, and it's from the side that's closest to the rotten apple. And us humans are the same way. We might not see it that way, but that is exactly what happens. And so, like I said, there's many different ways that we could do the same exact thing, but it's about what approach works for you. So instead of walking in dragging your feet, you can pretend like everything's okay, and you could, suck it up and walk in there and give a fake smile and continue your day like everything's good and everything's cool. But someone's going to sense that inauthenticity. Someone's going to realize something's going on here. But also, if you are encouraging a place where being open and being vulnerable is okay, then you could do that also. Whereas when you walk in dragging your feet, you tell everyone, hey, this and this and this is happening in the background. And I do apologize for feeling and showing my face this way. I appreciate you all for understanding. This is what's going on. So bear with me. Excuse me for this. This is not how I actively feel. And this is just like a day thing. And who knows? On the other side of that, an employee, a teammate, a peer, a colleague is looking at you, and you're allowing that space to be seen, to be
Mhm.
noticed, to be heard, to have a space held for. And you're no longer the leader that's coming in with dragging their feet. Now you are a leader that's opening up the door to be vulnerable, that's opening up the space and the container. So now your peers have the ability to go up to you and say, hey, everything is going to be okay. I love you. I see you. I want to hold this space for you. And then who knows? And they crack a joke and they're like, well, you look good today. You look great. And then, the smile is the best cure. Laughter and joy is the best cure for all of this. And the person that's just the leader that's walking in without saying anything and just going in with their contagious energy is not going to allow for that positivity, for that encouragement, that empowerment to happen on the other side.
So yeah, that is so good, because when you can be vulnerable, when you can go in and be like, you know what, this is what's happening. I'm having a bad day, and you know how I am before. This is not gonna last, but I just want to let you know. It also gives them the permission to do the same, and they know that now you came out that way. You're now a safe person. You're a safe person for them to feel the same way. And yeah, it's a reciprocal thing. And if you just faked it, when they feel something, when they feel bad, they're going to be like, I can't go to you. I can't go to you, or I don't know who I can go to because everyone around me is just so phony. Right? But if they can see that you are real and you're living your authentic self, then it gives everyone else permission to do the same. And I believe that is so important, especially in the world that we live in, where everyone wants to just live the highlight reel. We all just want to just look at the highlight reel and this is how life is. But no, I've actually did it for myself, where I was going to not go into this speaker competition because I just found out about my brain aneurysm, and I was like, I can't. I just felt so like, how can this be happening to me? I'm doing so much and it's so unfair. All of those things, all of those things. I was like just downing myself, and I'm like, "Oh, that's not fair. How can I do this? I'm not even going to go on to this thing." And I'm like, done, I'm done. And then I had to listen to the Lord, and I had to just stay with God. And He was saying, this is not all about you, right? What is the thing that you can share right now using what you have right now? And I was like, every time God tells me it's not about me, I am reminded of Jesus on the cross. He took all of that for us. He didn't ask, what did you do? He didn't ask, should I do this for you? He didn't ask. So it's so good that when we are that same way where we're like, you know what? I continue to serve no matter what. And that time I went on, I delivered my speech. I made it to the top 10 out of like thousands of people. And then I got the People's Choice Award. And so many people said that they are now, right now, going forward with things that they thought they couldn't do because I did. And if I can go through that, if I can come forward and even in the midst of my own troubles, go and deliver that speech so that they can see you can live through the unknown. You can go through things that may put you down or hold you down, but it's up to you if you're going to get stuck in it, right? It's up to you. And when I did my speech, they were asking, like, when did you find out? They thought it was like a long time ago. I said, I think it was last Thursday. And they're like, what? You know, what? You mean just now? Yeah, I'm literally living with it right now. And they were like, amazing. And I didn't look at it like I was doing something amazing. I looked at God gave me words and that words needed to be delivered. I'm just a vessel that He uses. And if I held that back, then He would be held back by me. And it's like, what right do I have to do that? Right? What right do I have? So it's like just moving forward and letting God be God. So yeah, that is so
Everything's
good.
already working out for you in your favor in the background, and we could continue to worry, we could continue to guess whatever it is, but
Mhm.
Jesus didn't know that. Jesus didn't do that. He was our main prime example. He knew what he was there for. He knew what his calling was. He knew what God had sent him for, and he accepted. And
Yeah.
that's where our faith comes from. We
Yeah.
accept and we keep going. And once you have a strong faith, that's all you need. All that self-doubt, all of that other human stuff out the window, because you have something that's already also mighty and also powerful working in your favor. And if you really believe that, then you will be living in that way as well. So
Yes.
good,
Praise
Michelle.
God.
You
Praise
are
God.
a testament. Oh my God. Wow. It's a pleasure to be across from you, right?
Thank you. It's so good to have you on right now, too. I just love the conversation that we're having. I knew that God was going to orchestrate this and put this the way that He needed it. And I never doubt the work that He can do through willing hearts, right?
Yes, ma'am.
It's the willingness of what we do. So let's go to health and healing,
Okay.
because I think people put that aside too much. They don't think about their own health. And within health, you come to that healing. I didn't know that back then when I was going through it. I was like 225 pounds. I was doing all the things that I shouldn't. I was like drinking and eating whatever and not good, not. And I had to come to realize that how can I heal if I keep doing unhealthy things? And I had to tell myself, you know what? No one's force feeding you. You can't blame this weight on anyone else. It is up to you. And I don't, like people talk about fat shaming or I'm like, I don't do that because I was there. And when I speak of it, it's just because I know how it is. And it's in that healing, it's in that health change that you come to that healing. Because I know I came off of all of my medications. I was able to lose 30 pounds before even going into the gym. And I lost like 80 pounds. And someone told me, oh my gosh, that's like a small child.
It is.
Like, my gosh, I never thought of it like that. Like 80 pounds, they were like, 80 pounds is a lot, you know? It's like a small child. I was like, my word. And I've given birth to like 4 kids, you know, and they're like at the most 8 pounds. So I was like, oh my word. So yeah, it is so important that we always talk about health and healing when we're coming through the things that we walk through. So, what does healing your relationship with yourself look like when you have spent like years doubting your own voice?
Absolutely. I actually just posted about this the other day on my TikTok that my favorite thing to do is healing. It's healing because here's an experience that I think we could all share. When you're feeling down in the dumps, when you're feeling defeated emotionally, physically, mentally, it's not like one hurts more than the other. It still has the same effect on you long term. But here's the beauty of it. As you are going through that pain, you could decide on whether or not you want to continue to feel that pain or if you're going to overcome this to tell the story. Because our pain is what makes us heal and become the person that's on the other side of this. Because the story it becomes more valuable. You know, think Superman, think Batman. You know, they have their downfall, right? And then they're coming back up. And we're always there till the end of the movie and saying, oh my gosh, yes, like I knew that he could do that. But did you really know that you could do that while he was getting like beat up during the middle of the movie? You know, in our hearts and in our minds and our soul, we want to be able to come back from whatever setback it is that we've gotten. But the thing is that there is no comeback if there is no setback. So it really takes number one, and I have a really easy 3-step process. One, it's about awareness. Where am I right now? Where am I mentally? Where am I physically? Where am I emotionally? Spiritually? Where are you? Second is making the decision. Making the decision sometimes is much harder than what it is that we say. Oh, well, either A or whether B. No, again, said it earlier today. You could do the same exact thing a million different ways. It's about what works for you. And sometimes we pick the thing that we say is easiest because it's the only way that we know how. Yet once we step out of our comfort zone, if we were to step out of our comfort zone, that we would realize how much easier this process could be. And sometimes it takes getting out of our comfort zone, like asking for help, asking for help. You know, how many times do you feel physically sick and there's someone else that's next to you that says, you need to go to the hospital? And we might fight against that, but it's up to you to make that decision. How many times do we feel emotionally drained and then we isolate? And what makes you feel better sometimes is just scrolling through TikTok or watching your favorite show. But that's a distraction. That's not an action that's going to take you to the healing. How about we make the decision how about if you were to get into an environment where there's people that could uplift your spirits? One simple laugh. You know, maybe we've experienced this where we're walking next to all of these strangers and someone gives you a smile or says something funny. It's the weirdest thing because you don't know where this person comes from. You don't know whether they even know what it is that you're going through. But the fact that they stopped for you, I mean, we see it on social media all the time that when strangers step out to help out the person that's on the other side that might be going through something, it's like this beautiful thing happens. And then mentally, that's one of the things that I feel like it's more that I see is more accepted now. I come from a Hispanic family, and when it comes to mentioning anything about mental health or therapy, it's like, you're not crazy, you don't need to go to therapy. But now, I mean, we're recording this in 2026. In 2026, it's a little bit more accepted. You now see ads for therapy sessions, for BetterHelp, for Strawberry Me, for life coaching. You know, like that's exactly why we're here, because now if you are able to be aware of how you're feeling, hey, I am feeling like this and I do not want to feel this way anymore. Now it's time for you to make the decision. How are you going to feel better? Are you going to seek the help from a professional? Are you going to continue to take the help or advice or guidance from someone that has never even done it before? Or are you going to continue to self-isolate? So that's the second part of the process. First one was awareness. Second one is making the decision. And the third one is taking the action. And it's a lot easier said than done. When we're taking the action, we think, oh, well, I spoke to the person and that's it. Right. But whatever you learned, you need to be able to apply that consistently and give it practice. A seed can be planted under the soil, but it's not going to grow unless it's watered, unless it has sunlight. And you could continue to plant the seeds and you could unpluck it and say, oh, is it growing? Okay, well, let me put it back in the soil or not. No, 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 no. We need to be patient and apply the actions that are necessary so that it could become a natural habit. We've all heard it before. It is easier for you to start a bad habit than to start a bad habit than to stop the bad habit. So it's just about the decisions that you make when it comes to your health. Your health is your overall body. And just like you said earlier, Michelle, you cannot take care of anybody else if you don't take care of yourself. So do yourself the favor. And I promise you, it's happened to me before where I feel in the dumps and I feel bad. And now I'm giving my 50% self to somebody that deserves the 100%. And now we're both able to fill from that same cup. Whereas where I say, you know what, let me take a step back. Let me get myself to 100% right now because I want to show up as that person. And so that way now I'm able to give out of that 100% filled cup rather than the 50%. So now I'm giving some to you and I could keep some for myself in the reservoir and I could give some to whoever's right next to me and whoever needs it next. So when it comes to health, just be aware, become aware. And if there are other people outside of you that are telling you these things, you don't have to take it for what its exact truth, but there is a part of it that may need a little bit of more listening because outside of your own body, you won't be able to see what's going on. And that's just the help that we need sometimes. So be aware,
So,
make the plan, and take the action.
so good. So good. And you talk about like not asking for help or like putting yourself into like an isolation because you're like, no, I feel bad. I don't feel good today. And then you pull yourself away instead of asking for the help, instead of getting that coach that you need. And I always go back to one of the analogies that I think that's what it's called. Anyway, my pastor was saying, if you took a bunch of coals, right? And it's just all burning nicely embered together, and then you remove one and you sit it on the side, sooner or later, that one is going to start dying out. It's going to grow cold. It's going to just lose its warmth and it lose its flame. But as soon as you bring it back, it ignites again and it relights and it's back up to that warm and burning ember that it should be. And that is how we are as people. We don't realize that we're not meant to go sit out on the side alone. It is when you can ask for that help. It's when you can come back into the community. It's when you can say, I need help. And you go seek that coach who can say, I can help you through this because I've been through it. And it's like, then you're back up to that flame again. And then you can go and help someone else light theirs. Without that, you are no good because you're just this cold and dying coal. So when you say coming back together, asking for that help, I can only stand and speak so passionately about it because I know what it's like to be outside, to be there and say how many times we do it. I'm fine. How are you? How are you doing? I'm good. I'm good. I'm fine. Yeah, great.
And inside, you're just like, God, what's going on? I should have told them. No.
I should have said something. I should have said something. And then you walk away with that stewing in you like someone could have helped me and I just chose not to say. So yeah, that is so important. That is so important in the healing and in health and what we do for other people. The last A, and you mentioned that already, is awareness. The last A in Aloha is acute awareness, because we need to be more aware of what is in our environment. Like you were talking about the seed that is planted. What are you really planting in? Is your environment okay? Are you planting your seeds in like harsh and hard soil that it's never going to grow anyway? We have to look at that. It's that acute awareness. So, how can someone become more aware of the patterns that keep them hesitating?
Such a great question. So back to the mind, right? I've read that in a study, the human has around 60,000 thoughts a day. And if we're having this amount of data going through our mind, how do you organize all of that? How do you become aware of all of those things that are happening simultaneously? Even an average human being, normal human being, there's one thing that we do. We wake up in the morning, we eat, whatever is in between, we might not mention, but we're just mentioning basics, right? We're waking up in the morning, we eat, we do whatever it is that we need to do throughout the day and shower, and then we go back to sleep. That's a whole cycle within itself. How many different decisions can you make within all of this? When you're waking up, at what time are you waking up? Oh, when you're eating, what is it that you're eating? Are you going to eat something light? Are you going to eat something on the go? Whatever it is that you're doing for the day, how long are you doing it for? Who are you doing it with? All of these different choices, all these different decisions. But when it comes to that acute awareness, we need to realize of how much it actually affects us long term. Because throughout those 5 basic needs of the day, I never mentioned your social life. I never mentioned your relationship, never mentioned your professional life. I never mentioned your goals, the things that you want to do next. There are so many things that are not mentioned and not spoken about outside of when it's actually happening right then and there. Again, we could do this so many different ways, but here are a couple that may or may not work for you. We live right now in a digital age, and we all have this nice rectangular thing that we take around with us that apparently can socialize with other people around the world. You could talk to people. You could see them on the other side. You could calculate certain things. It does so many beautiful things. Now, it's not going to be able to do what you as a human can do here in front, but use that as a tool. How often do you plan out your days? If I were to look at your calendar, and actually Grant Cardone says that, show me your calendar and I'll tell you how busy you are. A lot of us think that we're busy. And genuinely, a lot of us are very busy, but we are busy with the wrong things most of the time. The same amount of time that we spend scrolling could be the same amount of time that we could be speaking to a loved one. The same amount of time that we are researching the next trip is the same amount of time that we could be auditing and planning what we're going to do tomorrow. Instead of thinking about what we're doing next month, what are we just going to do tomorrow throughout the day to maximize our day? So that's one tool. The magical phone. The phone could do so many things for you. And it has so many different apps and so many different resources in there that you could use it for anything, for planning, for writing things out. And which brings me to my second one. Writing things out. I think it was Albert Einstein that had said this, that we retain more information when we actually write it out, when we use our hand towards it. Why? Because now we're activating a different part of the brain where you're able to retain that information. And so writing things out, this looks differently for everybody. Maybe you're someone that journals already. Awesome. Great. Are you just journaling your thoughts and what happened throughout the day? Or are you asking yourself important questions that are very uncomfortable and working through those things? How about writing out what type of day you want to have? I actually saw this video of like 2 nights ago on Instagram where there was a monk that said, first thing in the morning, do not grab your phone. You're going to get up, go brush your teeth, and then go ahead and get a piece of paper. very important, a piece of paper and a pen, that you write down what type of day you want to have today. Today is going to be a fantastic day. Today is going to be one that I enjoy and that is aligned with the person that I want to be. And what we put into that writing will most likely come into life, because you're not going to, after that, let anything come and stop your day. You're going to feel unstoppable. So using your hand, using your pen and paper, right? Writing down either journaling, asking yourself those important questions, and maybe you could even do a combination of the two. You ask your phone, hey, what are some important questions if I'm going through a work transition right now? What are some important questions that I could use during my journaling exercise? Awesome, great. Gives you a list of 5 questions, and now you have that to now journal from today. You have those affirmations that you could go ahead and write down. And you will become more aware about, remember those 60,000 thoughts that are going through your head? Yeah, now they're on a piece of paper. Now you could actively see what's going on. Another part of that writing is a time audit, right? Similar to what I was talking about with Grant Cardone and the calendar, but a time audit where you could write down how much time you currently spend on certain areas versus how much time you want to invest into your next goal, into your next thing. And lastly, sitting with yourself. This look like in many different ways. Earlier, we had spoken about looking in the mirror, looking into your own eyes. Sometimes it looks like being bored. Michelle, I don't know. We just can't be bored nowadays. Now we're just like, what's going on Instagram? What's going on Facebook today? Like, what is it that I could learn from here? But just learn how to be bored and sit by yourself. You don't have to be sitting in front of your living room or anything like that. Go outside, listen to nature, take a walk. I've had many beautiful walks where I start noticing things that I had no idea before. Once I even took a walk where I saw dragonflies, I saw birds, I saw ducks, I saw ants, and the cutest things, I saw bunnies hopping around. Then I went to the lake and I'm like, oh wow, what a beautiful lake. What would it be like if I saw a turtle? A turtle. No way, a turtle. I don't even think it's my favorite animal, but turtles are also a sign. Now wrap this up like this, that the turtle that's in the ocean, they don't necessarily, they have a natural navigation system within them and they know where it is that they're going. The ocean is so vast, but they don't have a specific time in which they need to be there. And they don't have a specific rush. And so the turtle that flows through the ocean, that knows where they're going, doesn't rush itself to get to their destination. And so we need to learn on how we can be aware of ourselves so we could be that turtle just flowing in our own place. 1,000 different ways on how we could be aware of these, but pick one. Pick one. I challenge you, pick one and try it. 1 minute, 1 day, 2 days. And after that, how much of a habit can we construct out of this one experience?
So good. I live here in Hawaii, so I love the turtles.
I love the turtles.
Yes. And it's like, we have them. I go to the beach and I just watch them right there. It's like eating or just resting. And yes, resting. You have to think like they're just there, they're resting. And we have to learn from them, learn from the turtles. We call them honu. Honu here in Hawaii.
Honu.
Honu.
So turtle is Honu.
Yeah, it's the
I've
honu.
missed that.
This has been so good, so good. But I want to
Thank
ask one last
you, ma'am.
question. When future generations look back at your work and look back at this podcast and everything that you've done, your voice and the people that you've helped, what legacy do you hope to leave behind?
The legacy that I hope to leave behind, that I will leave behind,
Yes, you will.
is that everything and anything that Gigi had in her mind, that the goals that she set for herself were accomplished. And if they weren't accomplished, she did everything and anything to make sure to have a positive mindset in order for that to happen. Because on the other hand, I want those other people for generations from here to be able to learn from my experiences, from whatever it is, anything. You don't take away anything from this whole hour that we've been here, and then take this. You can be your worst critic. You can be your worst enemy, but you also are your best cheerleader, and it's all in your mindset. So if you believe that you can achieve it, and I know you've heard this before, if you believe that you can achieve it, you will succeed on it. And so with that, you could do this a million different ways, but what's going to work out for you? And how far will you go to make that a reality? Because I personally, my friend, Michelle as well, all of us included here, we should refuse to leave this earth with regrets of that I should have, of that I could have done this. I knew that I had the ability to, but I just didn't. And so if you make any type of commitment to yourself right now, that take the actions, there are going to be obstacles. And as soon as you make those decisions to overcome those, you will be exactly where it is that you want to be. So make that commitment to yourself, because you owe it to yourself, and you owe it to all of the loved ones that you've loved, that you've had in your heart, that had plans themselves to achieve here on this earth. But now, because you're here, you're listening to this, you're breathing, and you're able, then you can do it. You can do it. So let's go.
So good. Yes, so good. Oh my goodness. You are your best cheerleader. I love that. Let's just remember that and know that the world is going to bring negativity. Like we said, you can't wait for fear not to come. It'll come. But yet, you can be your best cheerleader.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Gigi. Mahalo for
Thank-
sharing your wisdom, your journey, and your heart with us today. Your story and all of your wisdom, so powerful. It's a powerful reminder that fear does not get the final word. You reminded us that clarity is so often already within us, but we have to stop letting fear, doubt, and hesitation silence what we already know and what is God calling us to do. So, everyone listening today, remember this, that your voice matters, your story matters, your next step matters. Fear may be loud, but God's truth is so much stronger, and you are your best cheerleader. So, be sure to connect with Gigi and continue to follow her inspiring work and how she helps people move from hesitation into confident, aligned action. Gigi,
Absolutely.
is there anything you want to leave with the audience? How would they connect with you?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that, Michelle. What a beautiful outro. It is just, I'm honored. And this is such a pleasure to share this with you, with all of us, because we're all put on this earth to collaborate with each other and to make it easier for one another. And so if this podcast has made it easier for you, if you took anything from this, please, 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 I am daily putting messages up, posts. You could find me on all social medias as Let's Go _ Gigi. Let's Go Gigi. Because I'm always going to tell you that let's go together. And under some Gigi Santos. And also, if you are having a hard time making a decision, if you really want to be able to make that audit, as we were talking about earlier, the last A, the Acute Awareness and Aloha, I do have a decision making freebie for you. It is on my link tree, and you will find it on all of my social media. You could get that decision making checklist, and it will help you in your next goal. So thank you again, Michelle. You're an amazing human
That
being.
is
You're an
so.
amazing soul. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, this has been so good. Everyone, if this episode encouraged you, please share it with someone who needs it. Someone who needs that courage and clarity, or even just that gentle reminder that they already know what to do.
Yeah.
So good. Thank you, Gigi, again for being here.
Thank you,
I'm your
Michelle.
host, Michelle Ebalaroza Kawano, and This is the Walking in Aloha Let's Talk Story podcast. So until next time, remember that you were created by the Creator to be a creative. Express yourself in the way that God has gifted you to. God has gifted Gigi, you, in so many ways. It's amazing. I love everything that you shared today. So until next time, everyone, aloha and ahuiho. Thank you, Gigi.
Thank you.
Joining us here on the Walking in Aloha Let's Talk Story podcast. Before leaving, please hit that subscribe button. God's blessings always and ahuiho.